To be successful in this next unit, I need to teach you some vocabulary words. Let's start with the word expression. An expression is a mathematical statement that does not contain an equal sign. So it's different than an equation because it doesn't have an equal sign. 9p is an expression. 12 is an expression. 5x plus 8 minus y is an expression. And these two at the bottom are also examples of expressions. Now, there are different parts to an expression, and we're going to talk about each one of these. Let's start with the word variable. A variable is a symbol that represents a number. So let's talk about the symbols that you could use. You could use a letter like X or Y, or you could use a different letter like H. You could use a symbol like a watermelon or an orange or a tree. A variable is simply a symbol that represents a number. This first part of the word variable, var, is a Latin root word meaning change. Let me show you how the word variable has to do with change. Here's our first example. What would this expression equal if the variable y was equal to 1? So let me grab a pen, and I'm going to replace y with 1. So this is 2 being multiplied by y. So 2 times 1, now we're multiplying 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Now look at part B. What would this expression equal if the variable was instead 7? Well, 2 is still being multiplied by y, but now y is 7, so we get 14. So this is how a variable has to do with change, because the variable changes what the term is equal to. So if the variable was equal to 7, we got 14 for the value of the term. But if the variable was equal to 1, then we got 2 for the value of the term. So it depended on the variable. Let's look at another example. Let's say that we used a tree for our variable. So remember, a variable is just a symbol that represents a number. So if the tree is equal to 2, so our variable is equal to 2, well, 5 is being multiplied by the tree, so now 5 is being multiplied by the 2, and we get 10. But let's say instead that you made the variable 11. Well, if you multiply 5 by 11, you get 55. So the variable changes the value of the term based upon what that variable is equal to. That brings us to coefficient. Coefficient is the number being multiplied by the variable. Co is a Latin prefix meaning with, together, or joint. So it's important for you to know that the coefficient is always with or joined to the variable. In fact, every variable has a coefficient attached to it. So let's identify the coefficients in these examples. 4 is the coefficient here because the 4 is being multiplied by x. When you don't see an operation in between, that means multiplication. So 4 is the coefficient. It is the number that is with the variable or joint to the variable, joined to the variable. All right, in the next example, the coefficient is -3 because the -3 is attached to the variable or being multiplied by the variable. And then part C, this one's a little bit tricky. The 6 is a coefficient, but guess what? G also has a coefficient. Remember when I said every variable has a coefficient? Well, that's 1g. So the coefficient is a 1. The number being multiplied by g is 1. So both 6 and 1 are the coefficient in that example. Next, we need to talk about a constant. A constant is just a number. So a constant is a value that does not change. It is constantly the same. So let's identify the constants in these examples. In the first example, -4 and 10 are the constants. Remember, a constant is just a number. It's a number that stands alone. Now, in this next example, 8 is a constant, -7 is a constant, and 12 is a constant. The 2 is not a constant, it's a coefficient. In fact, it's not a constant because it's a part of a term that changes based upon what the variable is equal to. And last but not least, term. Term is a single mathematical expression. It could be a constant. It could be a variable, that would be a term. or it could be the product of a number and a variable. Remember, product is the result of a multiplication problem, so it could be a number and a variable being multiplied. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction. I think this part's going to help you the most with understanding what a term is. All right, so 4 is a term, y is a term, negative 2g is a term, 7x to the fifth is a term, 392r, j to the third t is a term, and 8x is a term. And once we do some more examples with this will make a lot more sense.